Hey YouTube, today I'm going to be lowering my 2021 Yamaha XT250 using some Soupy's links I bought online. So this here's what the kit came with. It came with two lowering links. As you can see, this side it's got that little notch. What that indicates is this is a left hand thread instead of a right hand. And the way it works is basically you replace the stock link, so you'll want to remove the two bolts. I'm going to go ahead and throw my bike up on a stand and then have a jack to suppress the wheel so I can get these into place. And then basically these will be in place, and from here you can take a 3/4 inch wrench and you can tighten and loosen that, and that'll expand or contract the link. So as you can see here, the link is expanded, we got that extra distance, or you can contract it by rotating it the other way. So the goal for my bike, I want to lower it about 1 to 2 inches. It'll be nice to have a lower center of gravity. Obviously we're gonna probably scrape a little more, so I'm gonna want to buy a scrape guard for the bottom motor. And I hope, since I'm lowering it, that I don't have to make any modifications to the kickstand or buy a new one. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm really hoping that I can get the bike at least 1 inch lower, and I think that's gonna save me a lot when I'm spilling or when I stall on a hill. So first I'm gonna stand the bike up straight and take a measurement with my measuring tape with me on and off the bike, and then I'm gonna do an after comparison. Looks like it's about 33. Okay, that's reading about 36 inches, 34.75. That's reading about 31.5. That one's reading about 32.75 as well. Measure it without me on the bike. Now it's at 33.5. I'm going to sit on it. It's about 31.75. Alright, so now I've got the bike completely in the air. We got this motorcycle stand. It's rated for like 1,000 pounds, so we should be good. Now we're going to go ahead and try to take the bolts off. So if you come under here, as you can see, there's our link. And these are two 14mm bolts. So I got the first nut off. Let's go ahead and slide this bolt out. I might have to raise up the suspension so that it's not like dragging across. So finally got those two nuts off. Just know they each have a washer as well. So it goes a washer, a nut, and then this piece. So we can go ahead and take this off. As you can see, it just fell off. And then these should hypothetically just slide out. Obviously, once you remove both of those, this whole arm is gonna drop down. So you wanna put some support under the tire or boost your jack up to here if you can. And I finally got these two bolts out just like this. And the way I had to do that is they weren't sliding out very easy. Obviously you could like slide a hammer, but you really just gotta be gentle. And what the secret is to put your foot on the floor, use your knee, and just gently lift up on this whole swing arm. As you can see, I can move that with my knee. So by relieving tension off the bolts by lifting this, you're able to slide them out just fine. All right, then looking at the old one compared to the new one, I guess this is the OEM one. As you can see, I've extended mine so it's longer. The longer it is, the more drop there is, I believe. And the way I did that is first I tightened both ends all the way down, not with the wrench, just by hand. And then same to this one. Then from there I just counted how many times I backed out each side. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna go ahead and install these. And then from there, I'm gonna bolt things back up, see how it feels. What I've done here is remove the stock one, slide in my two new ones. Here I got some all-purpose grease, so I'm just gonna wipe that along there, rub that all around, and then we're gonna go ahead and reinstall. So now I've got these two in. These nuts, you want to add red Loctite according to the instructions and back them down. There's two reasons you do this. One, so it doesn't slide out, but two, the reason I left it up is so it puts all the tension here and not on the nut by mistake. If you have it cinched down too far, it'll put a lot of the torque on this nut versus the main link here. And so, like I said, I slid those two bolts in. I have these backed out. I'm actually gonna go for a ride just to see if I like the height, or at least sit on it. Then from there, that's when I'll add the Loctite and then lock these down. You'll have to hold it here and then spin these the opposite directions, this one and then repeat that on the other side. Then over here, I put the bolt and then the link, then the washer, then the nut. And then you want to tighten it down. Like I said, 14mm. You have to hold it with a wrench from this side while you tighten from that side, or vice versa. And the only difficult part is this one here. It's hard to see, but it's hard to get a wrench on there. So I've been using a wrench, holding it from this side and tightening from the other. All right, as you can see, this is the finished product. The bike is super low. Since I'm so light, even if I slam down on it, I still don't bottom out the suspension. Definitely need to buy a skid plate now. But I'm actually gonna raise it up because it's too low. It's so low that I can stand up, which I'm sure that's nice in some scenarios, but it's just a little too low. But let's go around the block and see how it feels. Another thing to know, as you can see, the bike is perfectly level, even with the wheel straightened. It just barely leans to the left. So that's another reason I want to raise it up, because I still want to keep this kickstand. But I did 4 turns on each side, and like I said, the bike is very low, but the kickstand does still work hypothetically. So it's been about 8 months since the bike has now been lowered. One thing I forgot to mention is, so once you have that installed, you want to put some red Loctite here and then lock down these 2 nuts on each side. So as you can see, my link is very short, and that makes the bike very short. And then the next thing I wanted to point out, but it should be obvious, is you want to get this distance as close as you can on the other side. So if you have a pair of calipers or micrometers or something, it would be good to measure those and just make sure that these are each the same length when adjusting them, so that way your bike's not sitting kind of at just a funny angle, because it could cause your tire just to wear differently or your suspension to perform differently. So it's kind of nice if everything is just uniform. Some people say the bike looks a little silly, but honestly I don't care, because ever since I've lowered it, I actually haven't dropped it. I've dropped this thing probably 20 times, and with these new links, I haven't laid it down a single time. And so, like I said, the bike, originally, it was just a hair too tall for me. I could almost tiptoe it when I'd get in a situation, but now I can flat foot it, and I can really just handle the bike how I want. And as you can see, the kickstand works pretty well. The bike looks pretty level, so I mean, if I did give it a good push, I could probably tip it over, but it's pretty secure. So I am happy with that as well. And I didn't have to make any modifications. And the only other thing I wanted to point out, like I said, this has been 8 months. It looks a little rusty and salty, but here in Utah, they put a lot of salt on the roads, and I've actually been riding this quite a bit this winter. Not through the snow, but every once in a while there'd be a good day, and I'd take it for a spin or just run to do an errand or run to the auto parts store or something.